Alright, everyone, hello and welcome back to Watching Walford. I'm Ash, it is fucking midnight, and it's time to talk about the thing I've just witnessed, that is the 23rd of February edition of Hollyoaks. This being the episode where Dilly is finding herself in school talking to the ghost of Patrick Blake, and is having this kind of like back and forth with Patrick and Sienna, and just generally Sienna kind of explaining to Dilly how, as much as she may believe that Sienna took Patrick away, simply the biggest issue was that Patrick was just controlling her the entire time. And it was a truly fantastic way to progress this story. And when it was introduced as a story that was going to fucking blow your minds, and it simply was. And it was just absolutely phenomenal in how it slowly dripped in a bit more and it kind of fed in a little bit more. It just became really, really compelling. And I think that it was just something that just truly feel it's important to say how cool this story has been shaping out. Because it's like, okay, Rafe is dying. And so obviously this is kind of propelled Dilly into this like destructive cycle where she's got a bleed on the brain, I believe, is how it's being addressed, and she is kind of losing her mind and losing her sanity, compelled by grief and an actual brain injury, where she keeps generally seeing Patrick and being compelled by this desire to be loved, and she feels like if she does things in this way she will be loved, and she has no real processing of any things that don't go her way. And honestly, it's been fantastic. Dilly has been a really, really good addition to the show, and it kind of, I'll be real, yeah, it also fills my like favourite soap characters where they're slightly mental. It's why I love Sienna so much as well, where obviously Sienna, when introduced, fucking wild, tried to steal fucking Darren's life, like, tried to be with Darren and steal fucking Nancy's life. Like, Dilly is Sienna in so many of the different ways. It's just that Dilly managed to marry a man who actually loved her and kind of had that cushy life, but even that got taken away from her. Her introduction has been a very Sienna-like appraisal, and it's just been really fucking good in a way, because Rafe was always a throwaway character in a sense. He was never really the one who was going to stick around. They put the time span on him dying. Obviously I made predictions saying that he was probably going to he was going to die on the wedding night or something, and I wasn't that far off, but I also, you know, it was really compelling, and it was a shame because it did kill Ethan and Sienna, but ultimately I think they've been doing both very interesting things, and I do still like the idea of when Dilly sorts her stuff out. I do like the idea of her and Ethan actually getting together and just having this really weird fucked up family unit where now Dilly becomes a part of like Sienna's life and kind of gets to know Minnie, gets to know Maxine, gets to know Liberty, and just a really kind of, it's a messed up family unit, but that like Savage Blake family as a whole, it's already a fucking mess. Like, it's really fucking dodgy anyways. I think the Dilly character gets to have a lot of really interesting, like, can go down a lot of interesting avenues, and it's kind of already exhibited some of it, because we've obviously seen the kind of controlling-ish nature of Dilly, which would obviously reticent of Patrick. You've seen the more aggressive, kind of slightly sociopathic side, not really, but you know, when pushed far, she did kind of resemble Nico. And I'll get into the scenes where obviously Patrick is re-emerging as a ghost, but like I said, it's that like slightly crazy, which I do love in soap characters, and has really endeared me to the Dilly character. And I think she's been phenomenal, and I think she plays it really well. Like, she kind of almost... Oh, what's the actor? I think it's like Zoe Lucker. She played Renee, and also Vanessa Gold in EastEnders, you know, Bubby's in the Fridge, fucking Carol Barry in Waterloo Road, you know, like that character where there's a very, like, fucking physically sick, like the shaking and, like, you know, like shaking whilst I think the performance has been really, really strong. And this isn't even getting to the key bit, where we get to see Patrick Blake return. Now, obviously, Patrick Blake is dead. Kel surprise. Bit of Spanglish there for you. And look, Patrick Blake was not a nice guy. That's an understatement of a century. Patrick Blake was this abusive, manipulative, controlling, like abusive to Maxine, abusive to Sienna, abusive to literally anyone he could manipulate, abusive to Teresa, like anyone who came remotely close to him. In their orbit, they became like, or they orbited Patrick. That was all they were allowed to do. Obviously, the formative stuff with Maxine, the abuse story, which I do look forward to getting to watch. I haven't been able to watch it in full. I've seen 2015, so I've seen a bit 2017, so I've seen like the brief bits in between of like the later relationship, but I haven't seen the actual like big thing, and I do look forward to getting through that when I get the time. But Patrick controlled everything and everyone, and this deeply affected, like as said in this episode, Sienna was locked in a basement for years, told that Nico was dead and was a stillborn, and pretty much kind of it dictated Sienna's want to be loved and want to have this perfect family where you don't have to scheme your way into things and it can just be honest and genuine and reasonable. And this pretty much traces exactly what Dilly wants and exactly what Dilly wanted. Dilly had everything, but because she was abandoned by Patrick, I believe when she was 6, because she was abandoned by Patrick, she was constantly left wanting for someone to actually love her and appreciate her. And I do believe that will genuinely be Sienna. And I really, really fucking like it. I also like how it kind of... You would have to imagine that through this, Sienna will actually become affluent and will actually probably become successful, knowing that like the will probably go to Dilly and she'll share it with Sienna, probably share it with Maxine, share it with Ethan in some way, and they will be able to, even if they loved and they've lost, they have managed to achieve like a better life for the twins. And even if not, Sienna still gets a sister, and Sienna is still allowed to, you know, she's still allowed to fucking, where am I trying to say with this? You know, she's still allowed to thrive in this new setting, and I do genuinely look forward to it. And I just think that this episode as a whole, where you see Dilly like slip into these like habitual, almost guttural reactions of like, no. But, you know, it's like Sienna challenges all of the beliefs that she's held, that, you know, Patrick was the fucking terrible man. He controlled all of us, and he's trying to control you now. And that, like, look, you should be happy you didn't get the life I had, because mine was pretty fucking rough as well. And then this very genuine kind of almost visceral type emotion where, you know, it's like Dilly genuinely like fights back against Patrick, and this is her choosing Sienna, but at the moment that she's chosen, and she just fully breaks down obviously she collapses because the head injury's gotten so bad. It's just, honestly, if you don't understand Hollyoaks, but you've never watched it before and you're watching this for some reason, the February 24th edition, or February 23rd rather, watch it. It is phenomenal. It plays on so much history that's really, really fucking interesting. Obviously Patrick Blake rather, the actor is Jeremy Shepherd, there we are, that's why I confused the two, but did a fantastic job at just being Patrick. And obviously it's the idealized version of Patrick in Billy's brain, obviously not the Patrick who was suffering with motor neuron disease, or him near the end where he could barely speak. Just think it was a remarkably fantastic way to, bring back another character. It's like when Liberty was struggling with, I don't remember what Liberty was struggling with when she saw visions of Nico, but they did it in 2019, 2020, postpartum psychosis. And she postpartum psychosis, she saw Nico, which was also a very cool thing to say. I don't know, I appreciate what they did. I think it's a true look at how the soaps can draw on its history to make a return in a sense, but also use that history to build up a new character and build up relations. Now we look forward to seeing Dilly now know that she didn't kill Rafe and it was the brain tumour, and now that's how Dilly stays around, and we now get to see Dilly slowly recover and Sienna get to know her a little bit more, and hopefully everything to not settle down, but now, we're through the worst. I'd imagine it can always get worse, but at this point it does feel like Dilly will now slowly start to open up to Sienna, as they do realise they are actually quite similar and they do pretty much act in the same ways. It's just Sienna's a bit further along of the development than Sienna is. And Sienna's a bit further of the development than Dilly is. Dilly's still working through a lot of it. Sienna's kind of along the other side, having had kids and done all the batshit insane stuff that she went through. But yeah, what do you think about this little Hollyoaks stuff? I thought it was really fucking good, and that's why I've spent 15 minutes talking about it, trying to whisper, because I don't want to wake up the neighbours. If you want to see more Hollyoaks content, make sure to like the video, subscribe and comment, and always join the Discord, as we have lovely little discussions about characters in there. And or if you want to support the channel, there are the links in the description, and a wrestling channel that we're doing as well. But regardless, go ahead, do all that if you like the video, and hopefully we know that there's not too much ridiculous content around Hollyoaks, so I hope at least this fills a bit of the void, as someone has to recognise when it's fantastic, and it is, and it genuinely has been for a good while now. So yeah, fucking another W for Hollyoaks. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below. I've been Ash from Watching Walford. Make sure to join me in the next one. See you then. Bye bye.